Okay, so right now in my business, I've got a magnitude of problems going on every single day. Now, I'm not complaining about those problems because those problems just come with thinking bigger, growing, expansion problems, and everything else in between from running or various companies, property, business, podcast, managing staff, recruiting staff, etc., etc., and managing a portfolio as well. So across the course of those businesses, there's some media in there as well, media company. There's lots of fires for me to now put out, on a daily basis. For example, we have recruiting new staff, training new staff. I've added 2 new members of staff to my team in the last about 7 weeks or so. So one is dealing with all of the online marketing, the online presence, this working for the media side, and just dealing with all of the online content across all of the platforms, which is something new that we've just got back into. We did it a long time ago, around about 2006. And again, we've just got back into it now across, many or all of the main social platforms. So every day there's problems there in that department, putting out fires, helping them, training them, looking at the posts that they're making and altering those posts, etc. And obviously just trying to deal with or minimize the problems on that side of the business. And then a new video editor that's come on board again in the last 6 weeks or so in my team. Of course, there's teething problems, like a video has been produced where I'm not outsourcing, but giving more responsibility to people, letting them make mistakes and then fixing or helping them identify where they made the mistake, so then they can then overcome that and they can avoid making the same mistake in the future. So no micromanaging. I'm just getting them, this is a project, this is a task, this is how I want it to be done. I've shown you a few times, now you just get on with it, and then you're responsible for the mistakes you make, with a bit of guidance from me, of course. But again, there's mistakes that they're making, there's some videos that have been edited and exported and uploaded and then released, and then maybe they've had some adverts pushed against them or some sponsored content, or they've been shared by the editor that we have, which is on the media side, and a mistake has been noticed, or a problem, or a cut has been missed, or the video hasn't been, there's a glitch or a problem, you know what I mean. So those problems as well. And then we have problems from joint venture partners, which I've got. I've got joint venture partners now which have got properties in Poole, Sandbanks, Dorset area, Bournemouth, Southampton now, and different parts of that part of the country. Okay, so this is joint venture partners where they go out and find the deals. My company teaches them everything they need to know. This is just for joint venture partners I'm talking about here. There's no training per se for sale. It's just what we train the joint venture partners with. So that's in a membership site, and it teaches them everything they need to know, which has been documented and recorded. And they log into the members area, and they obviously access the content and learn from that. And then I obviously hold their hand through each and every single deal, and then I put all of the funds in and finance the deals for them, etc. And then deal with problems. So one problem right now that we've got is a new deal that was closed on, I think it was last week now. Just got got the keys, etc. last week. They did. But they hadn't done the proper final inspection. Now, I understand that they wanted to close off another deal because this is the 5th deal in, I think, under 6 months, in about 5 months. And they wanted to get it on the first 6 months because the plan is to help them to be financially free in a very short period of time, which is possible. I believe that we are there. When we look at the numbers, we are there. They're generating about £3,500 or £3,200 a month, which is way more than replacing the average UK salary, which is about £28,000 a year. So very happy with their progress. And so they had this problem with a property that they took on to get it in this year's figures and balance sheet. and in November as well, November 2019, where we are right now, and they didn't do the final inspection properly or at all. So what happened was they found the deal, they put the deal together, I helped them structure the deal, I put all the money in, they obviously signed the landlord up and all the paperwork, etc., etc. This is a rent arbitrage deal, just so you guys know. One that we use for service accommodation, okay? So we use it as a hotel, just to give you a bit of background. So it's all signed up, they've got the keys. Then what happens is my team goes there, does the furnishing, buys all the furniture, dresses, styles, photographs the property, gets the property listed, and then make sure that the property makes money every single month, okay? So their work is done. So they handed the property over, and it turns out, we've ordered £2,000-3,000 worth of furniture. We got the team there, the stylist. They're staying on site for 2 or 3 days because they've come from, just 2.5 hours away from where we are or where we're based, so we can branch out in lots of different areas. And they get there, and the property, because now the last tenants moved out, they've taken all the furniture, everything else. It hasn't been cleaned properly, hasn't been deep cleaned. There's a huge fridge freezer in the front room which doesn't fit in the kitchen under the unit, so that's like a bit of a problem. The flat's only cozy, 2 bedrooms. And then a couple of bits of damage. The front door lock doesn't close properly, and then the bathroom door lock is damaged, so it doesn't lock. And the property needs painting, okay? So this is a big problem. We've entered into the deal, we've sent all the money, we've signed the contract, we've got the keys. A short period has gone by before we've got the keys, and my team has gone there to dress and style and furnish the property, and they've got there with, £3,000 worth of furniture turning up on that day, the next day, and the day after, and the whole flat needs painting. Now, there's a bit of miscommunication between the joint venture partner and the owner of what they're supposed to do for the lettable condition checklist that we have, what they were going to do, and there's a bit of miscommunication there. So, that's another big problem. We've entered into this deal, and it needs £1,800 worth of work. Immediately, the whole place needs redecorating. Walls, ceilings, kitchen, bathroom, all need emulsioning, and the same for all the woodwork needs glossing. So big problem there, which has taken a bit of time to sort out. I mean, that's just a handful of problems. We've got another joint venture partner. There's lots of problems. So what I'm trying to get across is I've got 99 problems going on right now at any particular time, but money, or earning money, or generating money, or increasing my income through my companies is not a problem. So if any of you guys are having problems with money or increasing your income, obviously you guys just need to, just get focused more on what it is you're trying to achieve. I mean, if you're looking to go and just add an extra £1,000 a month on your income, or you're looking to add an extra £5,000 on your income, or you're going all in and you're trying to add an extra 6 figures on your income, then obviously you just need to get your focus right. Just choose the right strategy. And if it's property, which we talk a lot about on these episodes, if it's property, there's a few different strategies that you could use depending on if you wanted. Let's say, for example, if your problem is increasing your income, if you needed to replace the average UK salary, for example, let's use that. Let's use that as one option. You want to get enough money to replace the average UK salary. Now, again, depending on how much money you have right now to use to invest, or if you had no money or very little money to invest, then I would say the quickest way I know for you to replace the average UK salary, which is about 28,000 something a year the last time I looked, would be for you to get into, if you had not a lot of money to put in, some rent arbitrage deals. Now, there's lots of different names for these things that the gurus or the so-called gurus are now calling these things, these products, but it's very simple. Rent arbitrage is a strategy that we've been using for about 15 years or so, since around about 2004, 2005. And there's companies which are using it as well. When I think about it, Regis, who we have our office with, Regis uses the exact same strategy. And another company, WeWork, they use the exact same strategy. Now, what they do is they just find a building that somebody else owns. They rent the entire building or the entire floor or a massive area of office space. So they rent it, and then they divide that large space up into lots and lots of different smaller units, similar to how a HMO property works. For example, 3-bedroom house with 2 reception rooms might rent for, say, £800 a month. When you divide that up into 5 independent rooms, now you have a HMO, and you've gone from £800 a month as a single family occupancy to anywhere in a region of about £500 a room, which is £2,500 gross in rent that used to rent for £800. Does that make sense? So WeWork and Regis are doing the exact same thing. Taking a large building, renting it with a particular contract, and now dividing the building up into smaller units, and then charging 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 times the amount by paying one rent to the owner and then subletting, you could call it, but it's a more clever way of doing it. It's not actually subletting, but to keep it simple. And then subletting the individual offices to separate people or companies. Now that's how they take a rent from, say, here, let's say, I don't know, £10,000 a month on an office block, to here, at say £50,000 a month in the same office block, by chopping the units up, making them smaller, and having, instead of one customer, which is them, between them and the owner, they've now got 10, 20 or 30 different customers, all taking individual office space from them, okay? So that's exactly the same as how it works with rent arbitrage. You rent a property from a landlord or an owner or a seller, for argument's sake, and then you change the strategy, or you do something to the property, which is usually either turning it into a room by room let, or using that property for a short-term accommodation. When you use it as short-term accommodation, we're turning every £1,000 of rent that we pay out into £3,000 per month. That's gross. Every single month in 5 different cities at the moment. Okay, guys? So that's one strategy. So if you can imagine, you get a couple of those rental properties that you rent. Anybody here think they can go and pick up the Friday ad if you're in the Southeast, or go onto Gumtree, or go onto Open Rent, contact some landlords who are advertising to rent a property and say, yes, I'll rent it. I just want these flexible terms to be able to do this. And if you pay them a little bit more money, I'm sure from experience that most of the landlords, or many that you approach, will say yes. So there you go. Who here can't go out and rent a property from a landlord that's advertised? Anybody here listening to this podcast or watching this episode think they can't ring a landlord who's advertising the property to rent privately, go and view the property, say they'll rent it, and just tell them the extra terms that they want? Does anybody think they can't do that? Because that's the quickest way, I would say, if you're looking to add another, £2,500, maybe £3,000 a month to your income, which will replace the average UK salary. I would say that's probably the best strategy for you to use right now to replace the average UK salary. Now, when you're talking about problems, or this episode is about problems. So right now I've got 99 problems going on in my businesses at all times. Okay, so firefighting, putting fires out, but finding money, attracting money, getting people to give me and my companies more money, increasing my income is not a problem is not a problem that I have. 99 problems, not one of those problems is increasing my income. Okay, guys, in the last exactly in the last 6.5 weeks, I've increased my income in one of my businesses by just under £160,000 a year. That's £160,000 a year. That's how much I've increased my income in the last just under 7 weeks. It's about 6.5 weeks. Now, how I did that is I added 6 more properties. So that's more or less one deal a week in the last 6 or 7 weeks to my portfolio. And most of them are HMOs. So most of them are HMO properties where we rent the rooms out. Higher end, professionals, luxury, fully renovated, or even some decent student properties in certain cities in the UK. So that's added in the last 6 or 7 weeks, just under £160,000 a year in income for my business. So yeah, we've got 99 problems going on all day long. I mean, we've oversold some of the rooms to some of the students, which we now need to find more properties for when they come in January, when the new term starts. So we've got, some tenants that have already made reservations with us, and, we found other people after, and we've moved some people around from property to property because we've got about 25 or 26 rooms on all at the same time. My goal is to get them filled as quick as possible. Now, like an airline, how it works, we've oversold some of the rooms to make sure that they're let. Now, we've got to rehouse those people now, and we've got to call them and do deals with them to make sure that the house that they booked or reserved, we get them into something of equal value or better, which is an upgrade, and they're happy to do the move, so we don't have any problems when they come here. But, we've got 99 problems going on all the time. Growing problems, scaling problems, staffing problems, renovation problems not finished, HMO licensing problems with councils, and increasing my income is not a problem that we have. Okay, guys? So I hope you got some value from this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts.